When Jacob stumbled upon the injured bear cub deep in the forest, he knew helping it would mean breaking the law. Wildlife regulations were strict, especially for apex predators. But something in the cub's eyes, trembling with pain and trust, wouldn't let him walk away. So he didn't. He took it home. Healed it in secret. Raised it like a ghost in the shadows of the pines. And when it was strong enough, he let it go, no name, no collar, no proof it had ever existed. Years passed. Life moved on. Jacob grew older. Quiet. Alone. Until one stormy night, he heard a crash outside his cabin, and opened the door to find a familiar face. But this time, the bear wasn't hurt. This time, Jacob was. And what happened next would reveal just how powerful a secret bond can be, when the wild chooses to remember. The sun was just beginning to set over the Blue Ridge Mountains when Jacob first heard the cry. It wasn't human. Not a scream. Not a howl. But something in between, a sharp, helpless sound that clawed its way through the trees and cut straight through his chest. He paused, axe mid-swing, listening again. There it was. A low, pained whimper, animal, small, and afraid. He grabbed his coat and flashlight, then followed the sound past the edge of his property and into the dense pine woods that had surrounded his family's land for generations. His boots crunched through late autumn leaves, each step pulling him deeper into shadow. Then he saw it. Curled at the base of a fallen log, barely breathing, was a bear cub. Brown-furred, no bigger than a retriever. Blood matted its shoulder. A cruel metal snare still clamped around its hind leg. Jacob's heart twisted. He had seen poachers' traps before, but never this far up the ridge. He knelt carefully, speaking softly, "Easy now. I'm not gonna hurt you." The cub flinched, but didn't fight. It was too weak. He should have called animal control. That was protocol. But Jacob knew what would happen. They'd euthanize it. No questions. No chance. The law was clear. But something in those eyes, terrified, wide, silently pleading, held him. "I've got you," he whispered. And with a deep breath, he broke the law. Jacob wrapped the cub in his flannel jacket and carried it home in the dark. Every few minutes he whispered to it, not words of comfort, but steady rhythms. A heartbeat in sound. The cabin was small, tucked behind a hill and hidden from the road. A good place for secrets. He made a bed near the fireplace and laid the cub down. Cleaned the wound. Removed the trap with pliers. He expected it to snap or bite or bolt. It didn't. It just watched him. Quiet. As if it knew. He told no one. No one knew about the trap. Or the cub. Or the strange growing bond between a lonely man and a wounded piece of the wild. And as winter fell hard across the mountain, the bear stayed. Winter settled like a silent oath. Snow blanketed the hills, wrapped the cabin in white silence. Inside, the fireplace crackled, and the bear cub, now called Shadow, healed slowly. Jacob fed him bits of cooked venison, made poultices from herbs, and spoke to him constantly. The bear responded, not like a dog, not tame, but aware. It learned to recognize Jacob's voice. To sit quietly when he entered the room. To accept food gently. And when the worst of the injury faded, Shadow began to roam the fenced woods behind the cabin. Every morning, Jacob left the back gate open. But the cub never ran. Not yet. Spring brought warmth and guilt. Shadow had grown. Bigger. Stronger. The soft cub fur thickened into something coarser. He was no longer small. Jacob knew the time was coming. "You're not mine," he said one morning, watching the bear sniff the wind. "You never were." And a week later, before sunrise, Shadow was gone. No noise. No farewell. Just vanished into the forest. Jacob didn't cry. But he left food out for days. And when it was never touched, he packed the memory away like a photo in a drawer. The world moved on. But part of him never did. Years passed. Jacob aged, alone. His knees ached more than they used to. He built less and rested more. He stopped trapping. Stopped hiking. Just lived quietly. Then came the fall. It was supposed to be a routine chore, patching the shingles on the roof. He had done it a dozen times before. But this time, the ladder slipped. A single snap. Then pain. Jacob woke hours later at the bottom of the porch, leg twisted unnaturally, ribs burning with every breath. No neighbors. No phone service. Snow was falling. Darkness crept in fast. He managed to drag himself halfway into the cabin before collapsing. Fire was out. Blood had soaked through his pant leg. His fingers were going numb. That's when he heard it. A huff. Low. Familiar. From outside the door. He turned his head, and through the frosted glass, he saw the outline. A bear. He barely had time to whisper "Shadow" before the door creaked open. The bear stepped inside. But this wasn't a wild animal. It didn't pace or growl. It approached slowly, cautiously, sniffed his blood-soaked pants, then gently nudged his shoulder. Jacob winced. "Still remember me, old friend?" The bear settled beside him, body warm like a furnace. Its breath was slow, steady. A wall between Jacob and the cold. And for the first time in hours, he slept. He woke to warmth. Not just the bear's body, but the fire. Lit. The fire was burning. His breath caught. Had he imagined it? No. His leg was splinted with wood. Bandaged, clumsily, but effectively. A jug of water lay nearby. He looked at Shadow, now dozing near the hearth. Jacob whispered, "How the hell did you?" Then noticed it, paw marks in soot on the floor. Streaks across the cabinets. The bear had tried to help. Tried to save him. Jacob spent the next few days drifting in and out of consciousness. He managed to eat, sip water. The bear never left. It stayed close, alert at every sound. And when the snow let up on the 5th day, Shadow disappeared. Just like before. But this time, he came back. Dragging a hunter's pack. Inside, a flare gun. Jerky. A thermal blanket. Where he found it, Jacob would never know. But it saved his life. On day 7, a rescue chopper circled the valley. A flare cracked red across the sky. And Jacob, barely able to stand, watched from the porch as Shadow vanished into the trees once more, a silent ghost returning to the mountains. They asked Jacob 1,000 questions in the hospital. How'd you survive so long? Who lit your fire? How'd you stay warm? He smiled, wincing through cracked ribs. Saw an old friend, he said. He remembered me. They laughed. What kind of friend? A bear. They called it a hallucination. Said trauma does strange things to the mind. But Jacob knew better. He'd seen the eyes. Felt the warmth. Seen the splinted wood and dragged blanket. It was real. And it was the bear he once saved, now saving him. Back home, Jacob returned to quiet. But now, he left a spot open on the porch. Just in case. And every so often, on a snowy morning, he'd find fresh paw prints. Leading to the steps. Then gone. Because the forest forgets many things. But some bonds, the real ones, carve themselves deep into the wild. And sometimes, just sometimes, the wild chooses to remember.